channel. For those that don't know, I'm Heather and I'm on a bit of a mission to get my shit together, to be honest. So I am turning 25 in a couple of weeks, and for anyone like around this age or is sort of like older and has obviously already experienced this, but the frontal lobe development is so real. I have no words. And there's just a fair few things in my life that I need to figure out what I'm doing with and just sort myself out, you know? So I have always been very creative, and I always wanted like a sort of an outlet to document my life. So I'm finally putting my big girl pants on and getting serious and consistent about content creation. So expect to see my face around a lot. So hopefully me like documenting my life is just going to give you something cozy to stick on in the background that you can hopefully find some comfort in, and also hopefully it will be a little bit relatable to some of you who just need to sort their lives out, because I'm sure there's quite a few of us and that's okay. I'd say this is probably like the main thing that I want to work on in terms of like work related. The main thing I really need to do is slow down, and I need to reduce my stress and just add in little things in my life that really makes me enjoy my day to day. She says as she starts like a new side hustle, it's gonna be really stressful. So I am like super passionate about everything slow living and well-being, and you know, like obviously with that improving your well-being. I actually did my like whole final year project in university based around that, so I did a lot of research on it, trust me, too much. And I keep seeing such an influx of well-being and slow living sort of content that is either promoting some sort of supplement that you can take, or it's some sort of 20-step skincare, hair care, health routine that if you do it, your mental health and well-being is gonna instantly improve. And honestly, I was finding it super annoying because it's just not realistic at all. Not many of us have that much time to add those things into our days, and equally not all of those things are gonna bring joy to everyone. It doesn't make sense. But equally, I do think there is so much benefit from slowing down and focusing on your well-being. It just has to be a bit more tailored to you. So here I am to add to the already overwhelming amount of lifestyle and well-being content, but hopefully with a bit of a realistic look on things, and just something to bring a bit of comfort, bring a bit of relatability, and yeah, I hope you enjoy. So for context, my days are pretty much working a 9 to 5 and then fitting everything in around that. So I am quite lucky that my job is hybrid and I get to work from home normally 3 days a week out of 5. So I am working from home like more than I am in the office, which I absolutely love. I know it's not for everyone, and I know not everyone is in that position to be able to do that. So I am aware that I am quite lucky with that. But that being said, I'm mainly doing these things, you know, early in the morning or on my lunch breaks sometimes if I'm working from home, or in the evenings and weekends. So hopefully anyone else that has like a 9 to 5, like, you can probably relate to most of that, because most of what I'm doing is like evenings and weekends. I'm sure anyone that has like more responsibilities than me is gonna hear that and go, oh my god girl, you've got so much time. And honestly, I take my hat off to you. I don't know how people do it with like kids and other responsibilities. I'm sure however old I am when that happens, I'm gonna look back and go, oh my god, you thought you had no time. Joke's on you. But anyway, I absolutely love my hobbies. I am such a hobby girly. That stereotype of that person that has like too many hobbies to actually fit into their life, yeah, that's me. So I am proper into like my baking and cooking. I'm a real like making things from scratch sort of era at the minute, and I'm loving it. and I want to do more of that. And that also as well like really helps me to slow down and reduce stress, but I need to do it in a way that is actually not stressful. I'm really trying to get more into meal prepping and meal planning. I do quite a bit of it already, but I need to streamline that and make that really work for me. I also really want to get like into my gardening more. Like, I do enjoy it, but I just haven't done much of it yet, so I just really want to get more into that. But also just anything crafty. Like, I did textile design at university. I always did like creative subjects throughout school. Literally anything, like knitting, crocheting, weaving, sewing, even colouring. Like, I love all of it. It's kind of just anything where I'm making stuff with my hands. Oh my god, revelation. Because I absolutely, as well, I love a DIY project, and totally not just because I can't afford to get someone else to do it. So that is a rough idea, I guess, of the like type of content, because obviously it's going to be my like day-to-day life, I guess. So you kind of need to know. Oh, my washing machine's going off. So hopefully that will sort of help you to know what is actually going to be included, as obviously it's just going to be like my day-to-day life, really. But hopefully in a really like cosy, relatable way. Just stick me on in the background. Like, I don't care. But now onto my week. So it's been a fairly chilled week, I'd say. It's mainly just been like baking. And then there's a couple of things that I always try and do. So I always try and make my sourdough, make sure I have sourdough in the cupboard, in my bread bin, whatever. So always make sure that I have sourdough. I also make my own butter, so I do that. And I just genuinely like, I enjoy doing those things. I know when I've said these things to people before, sometimes they're a bit like, oh my god, like you make your own bread, you make your own butter. I'm like, yeah, I do, because it's something that I enjoy. I enjoy doing it. I like to just know that things that I'm eating, I know what's in it, and also not in like a weird health nut type way, but like also it's like this satisfaction of it. Like, it's so much nicer. Like, homemade bread, homemade butter, it's unmatched. It really is. It just tastes so much better. And I have the time to do it because I like to do those things, so I make those things a priority. But yeah, I know what you're thinking, like, I am that annoying person that makes my own butter, like, just on the reg. So yeah, sorry about that. So the first thing that I did this week is sourdough. It's always sourdough. Sourdough is always made in my house. My sourdough starter is actually called Matilda, which I love. But yeah, so I start off with putting I've got this like cast iron casserole dish. I think I actually got it from Aldi. And I basically use that as like a Dutch oven. So I just basically put that in the oven to preheat to start with. I think I put it at 240 degrees, I don't know, until it's hot. Maybe like half an hour or so. So that goes into preheat. And then the dough, I didn't actually film it this time around of me making the dough, but this has been in the fridge, so just getting that out and getting that sorted. And then onto the fun part of scoring it, getting it ready for the oven. So I always use this little hack, I've done it for ages with like my baking paper. You just scrunch it all up, and as soon as you scrunch it up, it lays flatter, and it doesn't like curl at the sides. It just makes it so much easier to work with. Honestly, such a hack for anyone using baking paper. So I just get the dough out, and then just basically here I'm going to be scoring it. Make sure it's like flour the top. I mean, it's actually got like a really cool little pattern from the tea towel. But yeah, just gonna get a score onto there. And then I don't really tend to do anything fancy with mine at the minute. I just sort of go with one big sort of cut as like the expansion cut, and then some sort of like little design on the other side. Nothing fancy. I hope one day at some point I get like more creative, I guess, with all the designs on my sourdough, but we'll see. Maybe that's something for another time.
So once the casserole dish, the Dutch oven, I'm just going to call it a Dutch oven for all intents and purposes in this vlog because it's just going to be so much easier. So once that's preheated, I'll get that out and then get the dough that I've just scored, get that in there and get the lid back on and into the oven. So what I actually ended up doing this time round, while the dough was in the oven, I sorted out my sourdough starter. So my starter needed feeding again. So what I didn't realise was this entire shot was basically out of focus the whole time. So basically I just use wholemeal flour for mine. Mine is a wholemeal sourdough starter. And I just use wholemeal flour and water, and I'll just separate out, like, you know, take out the excess starter and put it in this little jar that I keep in the fridge and use for like other different recipes. That's your sourdough discard. And then I'll just basically use like an equal amount of flour and water to the sourdough starter and just feed that up. So while this is an out of focus shot, you can, you know, keep watching if you want to see what actually happens with sourdough starter and like feeding it. Obviously out of focus, unfortunately, but I can chat to you a little bit about slow living. So with slow living, what it means to me, it's more like living with intention, like intentionally making space and time for the things that you want to do more of, that bring you joy, that make you happy. Obviously, you know, making that work around whatever non-negotiables and priorities you have in your life. But it's different for everyone. Like, I can find so much happiness and joy in baking and cooking and all my crafty little DIY projects. And for other people, that's the worst nightmare. So that's not going to be something that makes them happy. So you have to look at what you're interested in, what you love to do, and fit that into your life, basically. It's also about like reducing stress where you can. So for some people, slow living is physically slowing down, like not doing as much because they are very busy people, because they do a lot. And that is probably the most common way that people delve into like slow living. But for me, and I'm definitely not going to be alone in this, for me, it's more like mentally slowing down. I just need to stop and like stop stressing about things and stop overthinking things. So for me, it's more like intentionally spending my time on things that aren't going to stress me out and that aren't going to overwhelm me, and spending time doing things that help me to just press pause, slow down, like switch off my brain for a little bit. So I do actually have a blog as well, and I've written like a whole blog post on sort of like how to start slow living, the benefits of slow living, all of that. So I will link that in the description box below if anyone is interested in the actual like nitty gritty bits. But yeah, I just thought I would run through like a super quick little like teaser of, I guess, what slow living is for me, because it is something that's important for me and it is something that I'm passionate about. But anyway, let's get back to Matilda the sourdough. So basically, once the loaf is like half baked, you take it out of the oven and then take the lid off it. It's basically like at this point it should have like kind of risen, but it won't be crispy or anything like that on the top. Obviously, I am no sourdough expert. I literally, like, sourdough is the epitome of trial and error, in my opinion, and there's been a lot of trial and error. And this isn't even one of my best loaves by any means. And then that just baked. I think it bakes for like another, I'd say about like 20-25 minutes, but honestly I just keep checking it, because sometimes I think this one was like a smaller loaf than I normally do as well, so I think it was like a bit less time maybe, honestly I'm not entirely sure, but I just completely wing it. So then once it's all done, I just get it out, get it onto the cooling rack, and then I normally just like check the bottom. I know there's the whole like knock test thing where you're supposed to like knock on the bottom. I don't really know what that does. I've never really knocked on a loaf and it sound any different. Like, I guess maybe if I were to take one out earlier, it would sound like you almost wouldn't get that like knocking on it. Maybe that's what it is. Like if it, you know, if you knock on something that's almost like hollow, it's like a knocking sound, but the knocking on something like solid, maybe that's it. Oh my god, I just figured it out. Anyway, I couldn't not cut into this thing and show you guys, so this was like a little bit later, obviously, because you have to leave it to cool. Gotta leave poor Matilda to cool down. So that's what she looked like on the inside. Oh my god, she's so pretty. And then, you know, homemade sourdough. You've got to make some homemade butter to go with it. So genuinely, you just take double cream and just basically either shake it, mix it, do whatever you're doing with it, and just basically do it for like the rest of your life. It takes a while, it really does, but I promise it's worth it. And it probably doesn't take as long as what you're actually expecting in your head, like before you've made it for the first time. Normally I'll actually shake mine in a protein shaker, but yeah, that is an arm workout and a half, let's just put it that way. So this time around I actually tried to just like whisk it up, like mix it up in like a glass mixing bowl with my electric hand mixer. Honestly, I didn't really like the outcome of actually like what the butter was like after this. I do think that it tastes nicer when I shake it in the protein shaker. I don't know if that's because it doesn't all get like completely combined when I'm doing it, like mixing it in the bowl. I'm not entirely sure, but anyway, I'm hoping I have actually asked for my birthday. I have asked my partner for a butter churner for my birthday. So once I get that, I will show you guys how that all goes and show you the new process of making butter with that. I have heard that it's almost like it can sometimes take even longer with one of them, but it's almost easier. So I'm like, you know what, bring it on. I'll do that and I'll stick some TV on in the background. Perfect. So when you're making butter, you're essentially, it's going to have different stages to it. You're essentially going from like, you know where you like whisk up double cream to make like whipped cream? You're essentially going to that. You'll get it to like whipped cream and then you're going further. Just keep whisking it at that point. And just keep on whisking it, keep on whisking it. As you can see, I've like time-lapsed this because there's too much. You can't watch all that. You'd be sitting here for like 20 minutes just watching me whisk some double cream. It's too much. So you just basically whisk that to the inch of your life and then it slowly comes together and it ends up separating into solids and liquids. And that is going to be your butter and buttermilk. So doing it with the hand mixer, this probably took, I think real time was about 10 minutes, I want to say, maybe slightly longer. But like I say, it almost didn't feel like completely incorporated. Maybe it's because the hand mixer, like everything kind of splashes up around the sides or something, but it did just like seem like everything just tasted a bit nicer when I was doing it in the protein shaker, just shaking it about. So anyway, so you get to the point where it's solids and liquids. You're then going to separate it out, take out the solid, take out the butter. You're going to want to squeeze out like as much buttermilk as you can from that, as getting as much buttermilk out as you can. That's going to stop it from going rancid quicker. And then I do actually save my buttermilk. I have this like gorgeous lemon pancake recipe that I use. Me and my partner literally have these pancakes every single weekend and it uses buttermilk. So I'm like, perfect. It then uses that up. If I'm not doing those though, I actually just freeze it in like an ice cube tray and just have the buttermilk in the freezer because I'm like, that stuff is like so expensive in the supermarket. Like, it's probably cheaper for you to go and buy double cream, make butter, and then have buttermilk rather than going out and buying the buttermilk. Like, it's wild. And then you have buttermilk and butter. Crazy. But anyway, so you then have to like rinse out the butter. So here in the UK, it is, and especially in my little cottage, it is definitely cold enough to just rinse this out straight under the tap. But if it's not, then basically just get like a bowl of ice water or something and rinse it out in that. So you're essentially getting it to the point where you want the water to pretty much run clear, because that's going to show that like all of the buttermilk is out. As like I said, that's going to stop it from going rancid quicker. And then, to be fair, I don't think I showed it. I actually then like shove it like on a paper towel or something like that. I can't stand them being like extra water on it. I don't know why. But yeah, I then put it on there and then just hope and pray that none of the paper towel sticks to it. But if anyone has a better way of doing that, please, I'm all ears. So I add salt to mine. So I tried it this time round of just adding like normal table salt, and then I like cracked like sea salt over the top. Normally I just crack the sea salt, and honestly I would just go with the sea salt. Like, it was so much nicer than just using table salt. So I then just mix that all in, get it all incorporated, and then I don't have butter paddles or anything fancy like that, so I just whack it onto the baking paper, and then I actually just use the baking paper itself and my hands to just shape it into some sort of rectangle-ish shape and just go with that. And then that goes in the fridge. That lasts me, I mean, realistically, for me, come on, fresh sourdough bread and homemade butter, it's not even going to last a week, but it should last a while. So yeah, that is like all of the baking and stuff that I did this week. So there does tend to then be like some meal prep that I do, or like some other baking bits or something. It's quite a quiet week this week. I only really did like the sourdough bread and then making my butter. I think I already had stuff like in the freezer that was still prepped, so I just kind of used that stuff. So there was like the usual meal prep bits that I tend to do. I don't think I actually filmed any of that, unfortunately. I'm still getting used to all of this and like when to pick up the camera and film. But yeah, I hope you all enjoyed seeing what I did during the week and seeing what I made, which I realise now looking back, like, it's only actually bread and butter that I made this week. But still, I hope it was nice bread and butter.
So I basically decided to start this little series called the Cottage Decorating Diaries. That's what I'm calling it for now anyway. I don't know if that'll change. If anyone has any other ideas on what to call that, feel free to let me know. I'm more open to ideas. So basically I moved into this house currently. I moved in here like just before Christmas, and then it was really busy over Christmas. I basically didn't spend any time at home. I was mostly at my partner's family's house, and then it was like after Christmas, I think work was like really busy for a little bit after Christmas, and then I've kind of just honestly procrastinated it. I got everything to a place where it was really practical and I could live in the space, but it's not great. So that's one of the things I really need to do, is just sort my shit out with my house. So it is a rental, it's not like my house, but obviously I'm living in it, it's my home. But anything that I do in here, it is kind of like as renter friendly as possible. Obviously this does depend on like your landlord. Some landlords are stricter than others. So there might be some ideas there for anyone else that is renting and is wanting to sort of like organise, decorate, anything like that within your own homes. But it's this super cute little cottage and I absolutely love it, and I do think that it will be kind of where I stay until I'm ready to buy. Well, me and my partner. And I have basically moved not even every year, sometimes more than once. I've moved like I think 7 times in the past 6 years. That's uni and COVID for you. But I've moved around a lot, and it's always kind of been like a similar area. It's just obviously with uni, I don't know if everyone does this, but I moved like every year of uni, and then I've kind of ended up moving pretty much every year after uni as well, and then there was like another move in between, and it was just a lot. And I need to stay in a place for longer than like a year or two. So I know I'm going to want to stay in this place for like a little while. Obviously, hopefully nothing happens and I don't have to move, but I'm hoping that like the goal is to stay here until we're looking to buy, which is definitely going to be more than a year or two. As anyone trying to buy a house knows, that it is a lot. But I have basically like never properly organised or decorated or anything like that, and so that is just part of what my weeks are going to entail, is sorting that out. And so I thought, what better way to do it, and also what better way to keep me accountable to it and actually do it, is if I started as a series on here. So yeah, that's where the cottage decorating diaries came from. But I'm trying to do everything like in quite a slow, considerate way, because equally anyone who has moved house and has like kind of unpacked a bit, put their things in different places, and then realised like a month or two later that actually doesn't work there, like you'll completely relate to that, because I've done that with so many different things, and I'm like, this just isn't practical for how I actually use the space. You have to actually almost think, it's actually been quite good to not unpack and decorate and properly organise straight away, because then I can almost see how I've actually used the space and in my day-to-day life, and then how I can make use of the space. Does that make sense? I hope that makes sense to somebody. But I really want to make sure that I do everything like kind of gradually, and I don't just rush everything, because I don't want to burn out with it and then just end up in even more mess. And B, I actually want to do it well, because obviously I'm thinking that this is going to be somewhere that I stay for more than just a couple of years. So I want it to be done well. I don't want to feel like I need to do it again in a couple of years' time. Obviously there'll be different things that change. Everyone knows that. Like, also as well, people that know me know that I love to just like redecorate things all the time. But yeah, so I'm basically doing all of this while trying to slow down and equally like just enjoy the process of it and not get super stressed out by it. So it is going to be a fairly gradual thing that I do, but I just want it to end up like nice and cute and cosy, but also very functional and practical, because it's not a huge house and I have a lot of stuff. So yeah, it's finding the balance between those two things. So I'm hoping you can't hear my dishwasher too much, because I'm now obviously in the kitchen. But I hope that you enjoyed coming along for my week with me and seeing what I got up to. And yeah, hopefully next week will include more of the cottage decorating diaries, and will actually be more of like an intro to that. I want to like show you around how the house is currently looking, because honestly it's a mess. It's honestly going to be so embarrassing, but I'm trying to be more as realistic as I can and really show like what it actually is. I don't want to show like a polished version of it. So hopefully just don't hate on me too much, alright? Don't judge me too much for my messy house, because it is a mess. So yeah, hopefully next week will include more of that. I actually don't know what I have planned for next week. We'll see. There'll probably definitely be some baking. There's always baking, or some sort of meal prep. And then obviously whatever I get up to with sorting the house out. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed it all, and please make sure to like, comment, subscribe, all of those things. It genuinely will mean the world. I really appreciate anyone that takes the time out of their day to do that. So hopefully see you all next week. Enjoy your weekend and the rest of your week, and thanks for joining. Bye!